Hey, this is OminousGiggle, and this is devlog number 4. Well, I was originally expecting to have to ramble this entire devlog about the can of worms that is multiplayer, how much I hate programming it, how hard it is, how it doesn't make any sense. But by Wednesday evening, I actually had a pretty good handle on it. Sure, there are some things that make me want to give my head percussive maintenance with the assistance of a nearby wall, but it's mostly because of things that I had done that worked fine in solo, but I should never have done them that way in the first place. And as a result, they caused problems in multiplayer. It's mistakes that I made that I've now learned from and hopefully won't repeat again too often in the future. But by the end of Wednesday, I had basically gotten all the systems I'd implemented up to that point functioning in multiplayer. This included spawning multiple players into identical dungeons, seeing each other move around, replication of enemy and item positions, including that of dropped or picked up items, and killed enemies. The host also now stores a set of the client inventories, so if the client left and rejoined, their inventory would still persist. Uh, as I build new things, I'll also have to make sure they get multiplayer added and have multiplayer in mind when I'm building them. Uh, but now that I have a fairly solid understanding of how I'm handling the system, it shouldn't be too hard. As much as I got done in significantly less time than I thought it'd take me, there was definitely still some struggles, especially at the start. The documentation wasn't all that great, especially from GameMaker's official Steam extension. They have a project that you can open and it mostly works, but there is so little commenting of what is what that you're left sifting through the code trying to figure out what's relevant, how things are hooked together, because it's really not all that clear without prior understanding of how this whole system works. Another big struggle I had was that I was trying to just do way too much at once. I had to stop, dumb everything down to its barest form, and get that working step by step before I could tackle larger systems. So before worrying about getting multiple people into the same dungeon together, I had to care about host and create lobby. Client can see the lobby. Client can join that lobby. Host spawns a pawn for the client. Client spawns a pawn for the host. The host can see the client move, and so on and so forth. And just building everything one step at a time. It's something that I struggle with because my brain is often trying to think of what I'm having to do 3 or 4 steps ahead. But I need to remind myself to just slow down and focus on things one step at a time. For my next small step, and just worry about that. Now, my multiplayer isn't done, far from it, but I've got the basis for everything. Even though I've got notes still kicking around of some things I want to change to make things easier for me or faster, those are things I can tackle a little bit further down the line. But that was the first half of my week. What about the second half? Well, that was spent on AI. No, not ChatGPT or whatever the AI artists are using nowadays, just plain old enemy AI. Make them move, make them attack, all that jazz. Uh, I went looking to see if I could find a pre-built AI system that did what I wanted or most of what I wanted, and I was lucky to find Top Down Enemies AI by Bulletech Studios. It was on the Yo-Yo Marketplace and it was cheap, only like $3. But it was super well commented, really easy to follow, and I was able to pick through the different vision types they had for AI pretty quickly and decide what I wanted to use. The first day I worked on it, I had it almost completely operational within my game. I'd probably have had it completely functional within my game, but I got distracted and took a crowbar to some of my procedural room generation and did some upgrades to it that were desperately needed. That took most of the afternoon. It wasn't what I originally set out to do that day, but there were changes that I needed to do, and I was hoping they would assist with my enemy AI, who kept walking through my bloody walls. By the end of the second day, I had it more or less where I wanted it, at least for the Expedition AI. This included some customization of their tracking, how to handle when they're looking for the player after losing sight of them, all that jazz. It just goes to show how either really simple my AI is or how well made the plugin from Bulletech is. Yeah, probably a bit of both, though their plugin is definitely very well made. There are some extra additions I worked on into the weekend, especially when it came to performance, because apparently running 200 enemies full AI every frame is a wee bit heavy. Who'da thunk it? I still need to give the enemies an actual attack, and then both enemy movement and attacks set up for multiplayer, which is probably what I'll spend the first bit of this week on. I also need to get the light blockers and lighting system turned on in dungeons and then get that turned on for multiplayer. Once that's hooked up, I'll probably be getting a few different dungeon layouts made and make a basic endless dungeon loop where you can clear zombies from a building to activate the exit and then load into the next building. This lets me ensure I have multiplayer transitions working correctly, as well as gives me a basic game loop to get the general expedition combat feeling better, and allows me to give it a try with a few friends. That's my plan at least. And with that, that's the end of today's dev blog. These dev blogs are uploaded to Patreon a week prior to them showing up on YouTube. You can find me on Patreon as OminousGiggle. You can also find me on Twitter at OminousGiggle, or on Twitch TV as OminousGiggle. I'm more or less just OminousGiggle. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Have yourselves a great day, and I will see you all next week.